All right. Well, we'll start again. Welcome, everybody. It is the 8th of February, 2026, and Payne Haas has just quit the Broncos. What the actual fuck is going on there? So it's just broken in the last hour. We've got heaps to talk about today, but we better start here because it's all over the news. Payne Haas has just signed with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and it's unbelievable scene. So not really sure what to think or what to make of it. I was going to talk probably in the next couple of weeks in our NRL predictions about the Broncos and where they're at. And but it's Christmas has come a little bit early for that sort of thing because we probably need to talk about it today. So that's probably going to kill the Broncos. Why South Sydney, I don't know, but very, very, I don't know. If I sound shocked, it's because I'm shocked. So he signed a 3-year deal. The contract has been lodged. He's got a 10-day cooling off period. Everyone thought he was holding out for R360. The Broncos were trying to get him done on a 1-year deal. They thought they were going to be pretty handy at making that happen. And he's lobbed up today by the sounds of it and told him he's going to South. South have already come out and confirmed it. They've already said the contract's been lodged with the NRL. The Broncos have come out and confirmed it. They've said they're not going to say anything else until the 10-day cooling off period is over. But here we are. We've got the Broncos about to lose, I think, their most important player. People will say Reece Walsh, but I disagree. And South's about to pick up on the back of Keon leaving fucking Payne Haas. It's unbelievable. It's huge, huge news in the NRL. It's going to have wide-ranging ramifications. And I think the Broncos are rooted. So where do we go? Okay. Well, first, Souths are going to feature later in my NRL predictions. We're doing 13 through 10 today. So spoiler, Souths are in that. Broncos aren't. But, man, what's this going to do to them this year? So let's have a look at it. He's won a comp. There was already talk about him going to R360 and chasing the coin. His contracts have been up for discussion for the last few years, and it's been an absolute shit show. And now this has happened. The news reports are only brief, courtesy of Code Sports. I think it was Brent Reid and Michael Carianis who broke it, so credit to them. All it says is that Latrell and David Fafita were instrumental in luring him there, but there's got to be more to it. You don't just jump ship from the team who's just won the comp to go and play for South, who, forget all the history and all that crap. They're not looking good. And yes, they got Wayne Bennett, but for how much longer? They've been really struggling the last few years, South Sydney, on and off the field, I reckon. And the best front rower in the game by a mile, not even close. The best front rower in the game by a country mile has decided to up and leave. So I don't know what to make of it. What else is on the show? Well, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to get through our NRL predictions. We're going to talk a little bit of golf. There's been lots going on in the golf game. And a little bit of men's mental health later in the day too. And the Book of Feuds. The Book of Feuds is back. A lot of people very, very unhappy with the Book of Feuds from last week. I've absolutely copped it from everywhere. And I'll let you know why, and we might have a few other additions to the list. The way people have been coming at me, we're 100% going to have a few more additions to the list. If I'm looking a little bit distracted, guys, I'm trying to work out where the chat box has gone on this. So if you are there and you are trying to chat, it hasn't come up, and I'm not sure where the chat box has gone. So I'll keep playing around with it, see if there's a way I can find it, and hopefully we can have a chat, because I know there was a couple of people wanted to jump in and have a chat. So what? Firstly, Brisbane. I was going to say, we'll jump ahead a little bit. We'll jump ahead a little bit. I think Brisbane will be top 4 again. I think Brisbane will be top 2 again. But I also think this was their last year at it. The reason I think this was their last year at it is because Madge's form line is good in small doses. And that was all the talk at the start of last year. That was all the talk when he got the Broncos job. That was all the reasons when they were going bad at the start of last year that people wanted to bash him and say that he wasn't fit for purpose. And I thought, well, they've won the comp this year. He's going real hard to win it again this year, but he's also going real hard to win everything. They're sending the full strength side over to hopefully win the World Club Challenge, which doesn't often happen. Stop pressing buttons, Wilson. Which doesn't often happen for Aussies teams after they have they win a comp. We tend to go over there and lose. And after this year, after he flogs the shit out of them again and they do either win or don't win, I think they're downhill from there. And almost to prove my point before I even made it, Payne Haas is on his way out the door. So if he's just won a comp, which is what they say they're in the game to do, he's got no reason to stay there and get absolutely flogged and absolutely deal with all the intensity that he's had to deal with over the last 18 months that Madge has been there. Why would he stick around? And I think there might be a few like it, and I think it might stop a few going there if word goes out. Now, all that said, I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about and could be completely wrong, but I just don't see how or why a guy who the Broncos are going to pay him, the Broncos are going to pay him every dollar they had spare, would leave a team that's just won the comp to go and play down at South Sydney. Forget the brotherhood. I mean, they're going to pull the brotherhood card, and Latrell and David Fafita and Cody Walker and all them lads that convinced him to go there, just like they convinced Jack Whiten to go there. How happy is Jack Whiten that he went? He took a pay cut to contend for premierships. Canberra won the bloody minor premiership last year. Yes, they went out in straight sets, but how spiel would they be anyway? They had Broncos beat. And then how did the Broncos replace Payne Haas? Well, you can't. It's actually not humanly possible. So it is not possible to replace that bloke. So I don't know what you do there. And it's a bad indictment on Madge. I got a lot of I don't like Shane Flanagan. I don't like Anthony Seibold, but I do like what Madge does. He helped New South Wales win, that's for sure. He's a culture guy. He's a hard man. He holds people accountable. That's what big egos need. They need accountability, and he managed to do that. But as I said, he can only do it in short doses. So I'm not sure where he goes from there. Gibbsy's texting me. Chat's on. We're on. Very, very sorry. Try again. Okay. Gibbsy, get in the chat if the chat's on. We'll try and save this shit show. This is what happens when my audio man's on here. My oldest son, Jack, is the guy who's supposed to stop all this debacle from happening. I think we fixed it. I think we fixed it. I think we fixed it, Gibbs. All right. Well, let's move on. So footy's back. Footy's back. We had the trial games last night. What did we learn from them? 2 bits of fuck all, as we thought. The battle for the wooden spoon was on early, though. It was good of them to listen to the podcast last week and then put the Knights and the Dragons against each other, because people obviously needed to sleep on a Saturday night. What a bludger of a game it was, but things to come out of it. Well, it looks like Sandon Smith's going to be the best halfback for the Knights, which creates a huge problem for them because they've already said Fletcher Sharp's going to be their halfback, and then Dylan Brown's going to be their halfback, and Sandon Smith's going to be their halfback, and who else is going to be their halfback? You know what they need? Some fucking front rowers. They looked shocking in the forwards last night. I don't know where they go from there, but Sandon didn't look good at halfback. The Dragons, well, they looked average as always, but they found their new halfback for Flano to fuck over, and that'd be Cade Reid. Cade Reid, skinny little whippet, but absolutely brained him last night. Not that it matters because they got Flanagan as the coach, and he had 2 bloody good halves playing in New South Wales Cup last year, and he did nothing about it. The Cowboys played the Bulldogs, and not much come from that either. The Cowboys absolutely flogged them in the first half, but it was a nearly full-strength first-grade team playing against a reserve-grade side. They've got a guy playing fullback. Yeah, Gibbsy's got the live chat. They've got a guy playing fullback called Mason Barber who looked really good, looked really, really good. But again, it was against a almost reserve-grade doggies side. They didn't have anyone in. So what do you learn from trial games in rugby league? Not a lot. Everyone will get overhyped about everything because it was up until Payne Haas quitting a slow news week. But Mason Barber, the fullback, Sandon Smith looks okay for the Knights, Cade Reid for the Dragons. That's about it. It didn't change any of my opinions on the bottom 4, and it was pretty funny that 2 of the 4 people playing were in my bottom 4 and one of them just scraped out, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Steve Gibbs is listening. Hello, Gibbsy. Gibbsy's a mad Knights supporter, mad for the Knights. It's a shame that they're going to come 16th this year, mate. And it's a shame they're not going to know who to put in halfback. Surely Fletcher Sharp isn't a halfback. He's fucking good. I love him. I love him. Love his mullet. He's got a great mullet. And how much does he look like Ryan Pappenhausen? But he's definitely not a starting half. So where do you put him? Dylan Brown, Sandon Smith. And they're talking about playing Sandon Smith at hooker or 14. What a waste. What a waste. The bloke's not a hooker. He's a halfback. And he took the line on last night. He always looked really good with the Roosters, but it was, as I said last week, it was a case of how's he going to perform when he hasn't got the cattle around him? And Gibbsy agrees. He thinks who do you love? You love Sharp. Smith has to get the nod at halfback. Agree, Gibbs. We don't agree on much, me and Gibbs, but that was one of them. We're talking NRL. We've already talked Payne Haas. Talked about the trials. We might as well keep going with the NRL before we get into the rest of it and the rest of my predictions. So the NRL ladder, in case you missed it last week, I've got the Dragons winning the wooden spoon, closely followed by the Newcastle Knights, closely followed by the Tigers in 15th, and then the Titans in 14th. The Titans, I think, are going to have a Parramatta-esque season where they really, really struggle early, although big news for them during the week too with Tino signing on. Tino's re-signed with them, which will be huge for them. He'll Steve Leary. Can I just say, I've got a problem. You know who I'm feuding with? We haven't done the Book of Feuds, but I'm going off early. I'm feuding with blokes named Steve. Steve Leary's in the chat. I've made I don't know whether I should say it on the podcast. It's in writing anyway. Steve Leary gets my house if the Knights make the 8. Joking, disclaimers, big asterisks. It's a joke. Sorry, Steve. But I did bet Steve Leary my house if the Knights make the 8. He's that sure that they'll get there. Don't believe it for a second. Not even going to come close. And even the other Steve who I'm feuding with, Stephen Gibbs, could admit that there's no chance of the 8. None. And if one of you can explain to me how they would make it, I'm all ears. All ears. Fucking Steves. Everyone's got a mate called Brooksy and everyone's got a mate called Steve. But they're pissing me off at the moment, Steves. I'm into them. All right, so, yeah, the Titans. Titans re-signed Tino, which is big. I thought he was going to go to the Bears for sure. And it's good to see a little bit of loyalty, but it also proves my point about the Titans. Josh Hannay's on a good thing there, and it proves to me that I'm likely right, like I usually am. They'll have a huge crack sort of from mid-season onwards once they get used to everything that Hannay's trying to do. They shouldn't have been in 14th. I really wanted to put this next team in 14th, but I let my emotions get the better of me. So in 13th this year in the 2026 NRL season is going to be the North Queensland Cowboys. Probably should have been 14th, but I got a huge soft spot for Scott Drinkwater. He's a Central Coast local legend. I reckon if he was playing in a different era where there was less gun fullbacks around, he would have played a shitload more rep footy. He's a fucking good player, Scott Drinkwater. Love his attitude, love the cheek, love everything about him. Love you, Scott Drinkwater. And when you've got him and Dearden, and then the side they rolled out last night, as I said, was almost full strength without Drinky and Dearden. They got a really good roster, the Cowboys. Really, really good roster. I just think they need a new voice. They need a different voice at the front. I've said a few times I'm a sucker for culture, and Todd Payton, what he did in his short time at the Warriors and then the quick turnaround he gave the Cowboys, but similar to Madge, he's a very, very, very intense person. He seems very, very intense in the media. I'm not sure if that's him behind the scenes, but it's a whole lot of intensity for a whole long time, and the side doesn't seem to be responding. And I don't know how, with the same setup, the same voice, and the same, because they've had the same roster for a little while, right? So, and it's fucking stacked. Like, they got a great forward pack. A lot of these sides I'm talking about are weak in the forwards. I haven't written that down here for the Cowboys because they're not weak. They're not weak. They got Halem Lukey. They got, Cohen Hess has been a fraud since day one. Nothing personal, Cohen, but he's been a fraud since day one for a bloke his size. There was a time there with Cohen Hess. He was probably one of the biggest blokes in the NRL, but he could not stop anyone from 5 metres out, and teams would just target him and he'd run over the top. But so I think it's bad signs for the Cowboys. Now, I'm not exactly a scoop there. Everyone's tipping Todd Payton to be one of the first Todd Payton being one of the first sacked. And, yeah, I mean, they might be right. He survived this long, but I just think there's a big problem for coaches. There's a big problem for clubs in general. When you've got a stacked roster and you're down the bottom of the table, big problem versus someone with a really weak roster getting to the top. Now, I don't want to say weak, but everyone last year tipped the Raiders for the spoon. I didn't, but they tipped the Raiders for the spoon and they won the minor premiership. That's a team of less talented people, way less stacked than the Cowboys, absolutely punching above their weight, and the Cowboys have been punching down for far too long. So I've got the Cowboys in 13th. I wanted to put the Titans there, but I let my emotions get the better of me, and I've given them the nod for 13th. All right. In 12th, this one will be controversial, very controversial, and they'll be 12th this year, but you can almost promise that they won't be next year now with the news about Payne Haas. I've got South Sydney coming 12th. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. What do they offer that's different from last year? Absolutely sweet FA. They've signed Dave Fafita, which they've got him for cents in the dollar because he's been an absolute lunatic for the last few years. But what else? What else? One of the Steves I'm feuding with, Gibbs, was trying to talk about Newcastle's left edge to me the other night. Souths have got the best left edge in the game, but it doesn't matter when you've got no forwards to take you forward, no forwards to give you the space. You've got a 40-year-old 5'8" who gets hurt every second week. But I don't think that's their biggest problem. I think the biggest problem with South, and it's been for a few years now, and I don't know if Wayne Bennett has fixed it, is the tail has been wagging the dog. The tail has been wagging the dog at South since Madge left. The players have had way too much say. The top of the tree there get way too much special treatment. There's no accountability, or there doesn't appear to be any accountability. Even though he had his dramas off the field and lost his way for a little bit, Sam Burgess leaving and the stuff that he said as he left that club was a huge indictment on the club in general. And it's very, very hard, I think. The guys went from a real strict guy in a Madge to a guy who had no control at all in Jason Demetrio, whose selling point was player-led leadership, I think he calls it. It's definitely player-led something to do with leadership. To try and rein that back in, like once you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Good luck getting that mile back, especially when you're talking about highly paid athletes. And they just don't seem to have the go in themselves for all their stars. Latrell's too up and down. Like, let's be honest. I've met the guy. I've had a beer with the guy actually, and lovely fella. Really, really like him. Great to talk to. Cody Walker, one of the best conversations I've ever had. We chatted for about an hour one night at a South function, but I just don't see him offering up anything. You can't have the tail wagging the dog. And the common theme through what Madge did at Broncos, what Josh Hannay's now done at the Titans, what Jason Rolls did the minute he got into Parramatta, what Craig Bellamy does at the Storm, what Ricky Stewart does at the Raiders, what Ivan Cleary does at the Panthers. The dog wags the tail, man. The dog wags the tail, and if you don't fit the culture, if you don't fit what they're about, you're out. You're out on your ass. And it's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. I feel like, and the NBA, they do this a lot. They don't do it as much anymore, but the super teams, I feel like a bunch of the lads that got together at South and they got a bit in their own heads, full of themselves, and said, oh, let's create a super team. So they went and got Jack White, and now they went and got Dave Fafita, and now they're going and got Payne Haas. I don't think Payne Haas is going there to win comps. I think he's going there because it's an easier ride than what he was going to get at Broncos, and all power to him. He's got 950,000 brothers and sisters. He's got to look after Payne Haas. He's, what that guy's achieved, given his external circumstances, is nothing short of a miracle. I think he's going to South for an easier ride. Gibbsy said here, Cam Murray for a full season. Controversial take, maybe a bad take, but apart from 1 million tackles, what does Cam Murray really give you? Apart from a great name. Cam is a brilliant name, but what does he give you? He's not he can't. I suppose they got edge back row now with Fafita. Who's their other back row? Keon going out. It'll be very interesting, I think, because Wayne might be many things, Wayne Bennett, but he's not dumb. And usually when he's got his star-studded teams that are, where the next made replacement is raring to go, someone quits like Keon did and signs with the Dragons, they're out on their arse almost straight away and playing New South Wales Cup for the rest of the year. But Wayne ain't stupid. They got nothing. So from the reports I've read, he's embraced Keon with all the love and care that he can, because he needs him for this year, something chronic. He needs him for this year, something chronic. I did see a comment under one of the early reports about Payne Haas, about the imagine the front row if they had Keon and Payne. Oh, someone compared it to back when the Dogs had Willie Mason and Mark O'Mealy. I suppose that fitted the game back then, but Ogre not quite mobile enough for today's game, I think. Wasn't he a madman? Love the Ogre. They haven't got who's their halfback, South? That's the other reason I've got them down in 12th. They haven't really answered the question at halfback. And I'm not sure they got the answer at hooker either. I just don't know. I don't think there's enough there. Sure, they'll score tries down the left-hand side occasionally. Fucking who doesn't? But that's me, South in 12th. You've heard it here first. Now, I was going to put another team in 12th, but couldn't do it to them. So number 11, coming in hot, the Manly Sea Eagles. They'll be lucky if they don't end up in the bottom 4, to be honest, but I've got them in 11th. As a strident Manly supporter until the Bears come back in the comp. I can't stand the coach. Coach needs to go. He's ruined the culture there. He cost us Cherry. He's cost us Daddy Garrick, Ruben Garrick, the best Supercoach player in Supercoach history. They've just been on the down or the fair to muddling for a while, Manly, and it's not going to change this year. We all know they're a couple of injuries away from disaster. We all know who those injuries are. And both, Turbo and Olakuatu both got hurt a couple of times last year. Turbo probably played more footy last year than he had in a while, but Ola went down a few times. Without them two, they're really, really skinny. Steve Leary's trying to suck up to me now. Manly will be okay without injuries. Yeah, but they're going to get injured. Here's the thing. They don't really have a hooker. Their halfback. So there were worse people who could replace Cherry Evans than Jamal Fogarty, 100%. But as good as he was throughout the regular season, there has been a little bit of a habit for Fogarty to fold under pressure, which happens to the best of us. You should see Stephen Gibbs when he's trying to play golf against me. The best of us fold under pressure all the time. But there's got to be someone to pick it up when you are faltering, right? So what about Luke Brooks? Well, Luke Brooks, we've already seen, can't really handle the pressure and be the dominant half that he needs to be and needed to be for the Tigers for a long time. And he's just been sitting back chilling because Cherry Evans was doing everything. Brooks is average at best, in my opinion. And without a hooker. So who steps up when you need it? Who steps up and does Cherry's left-footed, right-footed field goals or kicks at 40-20 when you need it or puts the team on his back and carries them? They don't really have anyone for the pressure situations. So I don't see how they improve, and they're a couple of injuries away from absolute disaster. Now, the drums are beating hard for Anthony Seibold as well, and so they should be. Can't believe they hired him. Can't believe they've kept him for as long as they have. And I think they really, really struggle. They got one of the best packs in the game. That's another one. So there's two on this list. I can't say they got a weak pack. South's definitely got a weak pack. Manly's got one of the biggest. If nothing else, there's more man meat in the fucking Manly pack than just about any other side in the comp. So their back line, when fit and firing, that's why they can put 50 on teams without too much worry. But they can also let 50 in. And if Turbo goes down, yes, Steve, Hopper can cover Turbo, but then who covers Hopper? Who covers Hopper? Garrick. I was really worried about Garrick last year. He started to get quite a few concussions and then he come good towards the end of the year. But I reckon he's only a couple of head knocks away. I don't want to wish ill on him. Really like Ruben Garrick as a player, except when he's in the clear. Me and him might feud. If I ever see him bomb one more try by not passing the ball when he's in the clear, fuck, he hogs it. Oh, man, he hogs it. Or throw some dumb passes. Passing, not his strong point. That's why he should be on the wing. But they're going to give Fogarty the goal kicking, which problem because Fogarty tends to miss them under pressure. Garrick's kicked many a pressure goal, many. I just don't think Seibold knows what he's doing, really. Seibold doesn't know what he's doing. Todu Kola, yeah, backline's fine. Backline's fine, Steve. I get it. Todu Kola, absolute gun. You're 100% right. Jason Saab, the Ferrari, love the guy, but I just don't see it. I just don't see us having the mongrel. I don't see us having the win. There always seems to be something happen at Manly for them to get too easily derailed, right? They don't fight through adversity. I was thinking about this the other day. They had, like, Desi lost his job because they lost the plot over the rainbow jersey. Right? And politics aside, all it took was a bit of a jersey debacle to ruin your season. Then, Cherry didn't do things the right way last year, but who gives a fuck? Players leave all the time, and they've used that as an excuse for last year's debacle. And I think the coach has a lot to blame for it. I said this about Shane Flanagan, and I think him and Seibold are peas in a pod. And let's not forget that Flanagan was Seibold's assistant at Manly for a couple of years. They will not blame themselves for anything. They will not blame themselves for anything. The team is weak-minded. I'm sorry, but they've got no resilience in them. And the first out they have, the first chance they have to have an escape, they take it. Cherry's leaving. We're going to play like bastards for the rest of the year. They want us to wear a pride jersey. We're going to play like bastards for the rest of the year. And it's mostly the same crew. They did re-sign Ethan Bullimore on a longer-term contract. He's a gun. Really like Ethan Bullimore. Nathan Brown, man, his body is busted, you can tell. But how good is it seeing Nathan Brown jump off the back fence? But we all know it. Once Turbo goes down, we're in a world of shit. And that was when that's when they had Cherry. So now Turbo goes down, no Cherry. You got Luke Brooks and Jamal Fogarty. Neither of them want to step up and own a team. And you got no hooker. So fucked if I know. Good luck, Manly. You're coming 11th. Number 10. Oh, there was two teams fighting it out for 10th spot. And again, I think this is more, there's a little bit of emotion, but this is more common sense than emotion. I've got number 10, the Dolphins. Now, since I came to that decision, all I've heard on radio from people who are supposed to know what they're talking about is the exact opposite. They're all picking the Dolphins in their top 8. There was one, I can't remember who it was. Is it Corey Parker? There was someone on SEN picked them for the top 4. And I need to know what I'm missing. I don't know what I'm missing. They haven't really, apart from Selwyn Cobbo, who fuck knows how he's going to go, they haven't really signed anyone. Their first choice hooker's out till round 7, Jeremy Marshall-King. He's not coming back. Max Plath, who's an absolute lunatic, and this was their second choice hooker, and he's probably their best back rower from an energy standpoint, a workload standpoint. He's out till round 6 or 7. They've got a gun back line, absolute gun back line. There's no doubting it. But Cody Nikorima is still your 5'8", and while he's serviceable, is he really top 4 calibre? And I just think they're way over. Well, they're not overloaded. You can never have too many star players, but they've got all their stars in their back line, and their forwards punched above their weight last year, but I don't know how long they punch above their weight for again, and everyone's awake to it this time. I can't see, when you look at the other teams, when you look at the others, who are they taking out of the 8 from last year? Steve Leary, who from last year's top 8 of the Dolphins getting out? I just don't see it. And don't get me wrong, you'd love to see it. You'd love to see it. I love the halfback. Katoa's an absolute gun. Herbie Farmworth, absolute gun. They got the hammer. Like I said, the back line, not a problem. Their forward pack, bit of a problem. I think, what a really, good news story. Tom Flegler's back after 2 years out with a nerve issue in his shoulder, which they thought he was never going to be able to play again. So let's hope he they're going to see how he goes in the first trial. Best wishes to him and hope he gets through, because you don't like to see a bloke go out like that. I don't know, does anyone remember Simon O'Dwyer from the Tigers? Simon O'Dwyer put the biggest hit. You Google Simon O'Dwyer on Jared Hargraves, Tigers versus Roosters, and I think it was a semi-final. Simon O'Dwyer absolutely flattened JWH. JWH steamed onto it 5 metres out from the line. Dwyer just launched off the try line and absolutely knocked him into next week. Never played again. Hit a nerve in his neck when he did it. Never played again. He's still at the Tigers, I believe, in a development role. They've had to keep it, they did the right thing and kept him employed, but never played footy again after create. Now, the hit, if he hit him if that hit happened in today's NRL, he'd be suspended for 9 years. But Google that while you're sitting here listening to me dribble. Absolute fucking crazy hit. So Tom Flegler's back, hopefully. Keep it simple with Qatar, I get it. But top 8, top 4, I am missing something. absolutely missing something. And it's depth in the forwards, guys. What people have got to understand, because, I'm an NRL expert, not. If you don't have a pack and you don't have depth in your pack, you're toast. You're absolutely toast. Teams will roll through the middle of you. You won't be able to stop them. You won't be able to stop momentum, even if you hold out for a couple of years. And I think a while, I think that happened to them last year and happened to the Warriors last year. They just ran out of puff because blokes punching above their weight can't punch above their weight for 27 rounds or however many rounds. It is too much. So you got to have some depth there. Selwyn Cobbo's lost 10 kilos apparently. Great. They have the best back line in the world, but you need a forward pack. I think there's plenty of other teams that are going to struggle with that too. And there's teams up the top. We saw it, guys, we saw it with the Dogs. And it's going to be the same story with the Dogs this year. We're not talking about I haven't predicted where they're coming yet, but the Dogs last year, when the real footy started, when it really got time to get going, forget what they did with Galvin and Toby Sexton, my new Bears halfback, Toby Sexy Sexton. They were just too small in the forwards. Didn't have enough people coming through. So they're my predictions. So now we've got the Dragons for the spoon, closely followed by the two Steves, Newcastle Knights, very closely followed by the Tigers, and really you can switch either of those out. Then I've got the Titans, reluctantly the Titans. Coming in 13th was the Cowboys. 12th is South Sydney. 11th is Manly, but Manly could be anywhere. They could be the spoon. And the Dolphins in 10, because I don't understand how you put them. I could nearly have them in 9. Like I said, they were very close to going in 9. And Steve Leary's just said he'll go on a wide limb and say the Storm could struggle with a good injury. Steve-O, not to give a spoiler, but I 100% agree with you. That's the first thing we're going to agree on. I'll tell you this, I do not have the Storm in my top 1 or 2 teams. But we'll probably talk about that next week. All right. Any thoughts on Payne Haas going, Steve? Or 2 Steves if Gibbs is still there? I need a drink. Oh. Not a great deal of difference between Eels and Dolphins. You got Eels in 8. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Eels, Stephen Gibbs. But they're for next week, I think. I definitely don't have the Eels in the top 4. But I mean, I've got big plan. I got big plans for the Eels. Put it that way. And surprisingly, here's what I don't understand. I mean, I saw one of my someone else who's on TikTok, I think it was, putting their NRL predictions in, and they had the Eels in 16th place. They had the Eels in 16th. What are you fucking thinking? It's not humanly possible. They came 11th last year. They came 11th last year and they didn't fucking strike a blow for the first 10 rounds. I think, I hear the other day, the first 10 rounds they were 2-8 and stone motherless last. They finished 11th, the Eels. They've added Jonah Pezzett. So listen, I spent a long time hating the Eels, but I've since come to realise that was all to do with King Gutho. A lot of my hate. And I just want to semi-apologise to all my para-supporting friends who I give that much pain to. I was, blinded by my rage for Clint Gutherson, and now that he's gone, I can't hate you. I can't hate you. You are all grubs. All para-supporters are grubs. You're grubs. Grubs! But I can't hate your team anymore. Jonah Pezzett, great buy. Agree, Steve Leary. That's 2 we've agreed on. Storm out, Dolphins in. I think you're right. Just cruisy for him at this stage of career. Yeah, that's with Payne Haas. I don't know if the Dolphins are – nah, see. Someone explain to me the Dolphins thing. I don't get it. I don't get it. I must be missing something. Hey, listen, I'm happy to have missed something. Haas to Wabbits will be solid. You're right, reculture. Is Bennett past it? He's not dumb. You know what could be? Wayne Bennett has a huge ego. Massive, massive, massive ego. He's also done a lot of really, it doesn't make him a bad person. He's done a lot of really good things. My business had an association with South Sydney for a couple of years, so I got a bit of a behind the scenes look on a lot of things. That's where I met the players and had conversations. I've seen a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So at that time, before we had that association, I hated South with a passion. But then I met all the players, got to have a beer with all the players, and very hard to hate people you've had a beer with, even though plenty of people seem to not have that problem with me. But Bennett's got a huge ego, and all the talk over the last few years, I mean, it's always been the talk, but how he's the greatest man manager that's ever been. The greatest man manager that's ever been, because he just gets players and he gets on their level, and players just relate to him so well. I don't know if he's past it or he's got too friendly with some of those players in his current team. And I'm talking about Latrell, I'm talking about Cody. I think he's gotten too friendly with some of the players in that team, and that's why the tail has been wagging the dog. Because how is he going to come down on him now? He's the greatest man manager of all time. How do you rein the discipline back in? Can't. It's been gone for too long. So, but also, that's been wearing pretty thin for a while now, the greatest man manager thing. No one says that about Craig Bellamy. He's fucking always at the top. No one says that about Michael Maguire. Won the comp last year. They say the opposite about Michael Maguire, but he won a comp last year. I'm gonna say I've got a huge opinion on Ivan Cleary, and I'll probably save that for when we talk about the Panthers. But Ivan Cleary is probably one of the great man managers, but doesn't get any credit for it. And I believe I know why he doesn't get any credit for it, but I'll have that opinion at another time. But the man manager thing, you can't be friends, whether it's sport, whether it's business, whether it's life. You can't just be best mate. Doesn't work. When one person's in charge of keeping the other person accountable, when one person's in charge of disciplining the other person, it's fucking business first. And if we happen to be friends at the same time, great. But if not, it's fucking business first. And I think he's blurred that line too much. I think Jason Demetrio erased the line. There was no line at all. Player-led fucking revolution. What are we talking about? You got a job to do, mate. But I think Bennett, maybe not past it, but he's also 126. So if I'm 126, do I really want to be cracking down on people and fucking carrying on? You know what? He's picking fights with everyone except his team at the moment. He's picking fights with the RLPA. He's picking fights with the NRL. He's picking fights with absolutely everyone except the players that need a kick in the arse. So that's what I reckon on that. All right. Next, I'm going to get a drink first. I've got a huge problem in the non-alcohol beer stakes, people. I've run out, and I had 3 left of 3 different brands, so that's not going to be good. We've just had a Cooper's. Now we're on to an Asahi. Fucking mixing beers never tastes good. I don't know if it's going to be any better in the zero alcohol realm, but let's go. All right. I know Gibbsy's waiting for me to talk about golf, but we're going to get there shortly, mate. Firstly, I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey. The Super Bowl's tomorrow. I just want to say, for the record, I know everyone's talking about the Super Bowl now. I was talking about the Super Bowl before the Super Bowl was cool. I have been following the NFL since I was 10 years old, since Madden NFL came out on the Super Nintendo. On the Super Nintendo, way back when. I'm 43 now, so 33 years I've been into the NFL. Now, at the time, it just so happened that the Cowboys were winning a lot. They won 3 years in a row. And guess who I ended up following? Complete coincidence. Had nothing to do with them winning. But I became a Dallas Cowboys fan, have been ever since, and they haven't fucking won a thing ever since. Come close a couple of times. We got robbed by the ref once. the catch that never was. But I've been a diehard, struggling Cowboys supporter for 33 years. Everyone's jumped on the NFL bandwagon the last couple of years, which actually I shouldn't be negative about. It's good. Positive vibes only, as Steve Leary would say. It's actually good to be able to have a conversation with people now about it and them know what they're talking about, because before you try and talk to someone, Sega Mega Drive console. Sega Mega Drive. No, I had it on the Super Nintendo. How good was Sonic the Hedgehog? That was Sega, wasn't it? Sega Master System, Sega Mega Drive. How old are you, Gibbs? I think I've got a decade on you, which makes it even sadder what happened at golf on the weekend. So anyway, it's good to be able to have a conversation with someone now about the NFL and them not stare at me blankly and just go, oh, shit, they wear pads. They wear pads, they must be gay. Brutal sport. Brutal sport. I actually think if they got rid of the pads, a lot less of them would die from CTE and a lot less of them would go crazy and do stupid things because of all the head knocks they caught. We're men, right? So you stick a helmet on us and make us think we're invincible. We're going to run at walls and do dumb shit. We're going to see how hard we can whack someone without copping any pain. So they're not gay for wearing pads, the NFL guys. They wouldn't last 5 seconds on a rugby league field, but I think that's more due to fitness than physical ability. And I don't reckon many rugby league players would stand a chance of having to learn an NFL playbook, actually. So I think it goes both ways on the scale. But Steve Leary. Philadelphia Eagles supporter. All right, we're feuding again. Me and Steve Leary are feuding again. 1989 for Gibbs. How old is that? That's 7 years, mate. I got 7 years on you, still towed you up. How can you be an Eagles supporter? So Steve Leary and I are NFC East rivals, fierce NFC East rivals. You got the Eagles, the Giants, the Cowboys, and the former Washington Redskins, who are now the Commanders or whatever the fuck they're called these days in the NFC East. So there's no chance that Steve Leary's team and I ever play each other in a Super Bowl. But Steve Gibbs is a Bengals man there in the AFC. I'm pretty sure they're AFC. Sure, they're AFC. So we're a chance of going up against each other in a Super Bowl one day where the Cowboys will lose for sure because they're shit and they can't win a thing. But anyway, tomorrow's game. It's a repeat of one of the most famous Super Bowls in recent history, the Seattle Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. Just so everyone listens, if you're on the Patriots tomorrow, get fucked, turn off. I don't want to talk to you ever. They are the Melbourne Storm of the NFL, the New England Patriots. Much less hateable. Yeah, you are. Much less hateable now that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are gone, but they've still got Robert Kraft. They just, with the Storm, right? They're fucking so successful and I should be so inspired, but they just grubby about it. There's just always something about them. They just can't do it clean. And the Patriots were the same. So the Patriots went on a run where they won 9 million Super Bowls in a 9 million year period. Had Tom Brady, who initially he was one of the lowest drafted. Well, he was Mr. Irrelevant one. He was the last person in the draft. So he was a feel-good story for a while, but then they just kept winning and then they got caught cheating and there was Deflategate and all this sort of shit. And I hate the New England Patriots with a passion. And they are the Melbourne Storm of the NFL. But one of the most famous Super Bowls in recent history was between these two teams, completely different people. Seahawks had Pete Carroll as coach and Russell Wilson, also a great name. And Patriots were Belichick and Brady. Seahawks should have won that game. They got 5 yards out or 3 yards out. All they had to do was give it to their best player, Marshawn Lynch, to run it in because he'd already run for 957 trillion yards all game. They chose not to. Carroll made one of the worst coaching blunders that's ever been made in sport ever, I think, and decided to pass the ball. And a bloke who only ever did one thing good in life but has now made $1 trillion off it, Malcolm Butler, intercepted the pass. The Patriots went on to win the game that never was. Malcolm Butler got real famous real quick, made a whole career out of it, and Seattle pissed a Super Bowl up against the wall. That has nothing to do with tomorrow's game. They're all completely different people. Seattle have been in the wilderness for quite a while. The Patriots have only had, another reason to hate them, only had 2 down years since Brady left, and now they're back already, which no one thought. So the gist for people who aren't really across it tomorrow is unfortunately, they're both kind of feel-good stories. So no one picked either of these two teams to be there. The Patriots have got a rookie quarterback, Drake May. It's only his 2nd year in the league, so not a full rookie. But no one picked him to be there. They did trip and fall over it, though. They would have got beat by the Broncos in the AFC Championship game, but the Broncos quarterback broke his ankle in the last minute of the game before that. So they've had an easy run, the Patriots. They shouldn't even be there. Yes, we're back. See, I started feeling sorry for them. No, fuck you. Fuck you, New England. You don't deserve to be there. And Seattle are going to kill them tomorrow. Seattle, we love an underdog, and the biggest underdog in the NFL all year has been Sam Darnold, the Seattle quarterback. Wanted by nobody, joked about by everybody. This is a guy who didn't really set it alight in college, went to the New York Jets, who are the worst organisation in the NFL to start his career, got let go from there to go to the Carolina Panthers, who weren't much better. He didn't get much of a run there. Then he gets put on the bench for the San Francisco 49ers, didn't get much of a run there. Then the Minnesota Vikings pick him up. He gets to play by accident, absolutely kills it last year. He got the Vikings to the playoff against all odds, and he absolutely brained them. He had 2 bad games in the playoffs, very Jamal Fogarty-like, and Minnesota went, yeah, you know what, even though you've just fucking played lights out, you're out, you're gone. They got rid of him instead of for a rookie QB, JJ McCarthy, straight out of college, and he's gone to Seattle. And up until 3 weeks ago, he was still the butt of everyone's jokes. He's taken them to the Super Bowl. He's played absolutely lights out all year, absolutely killing it. So much so that Minnesota have just fired their general manager for agreeing to get rid of Sam Darnold instead of keeping him in favour of their failing rookie, JJ McCarthy, who just calls himself 9, by the way. When I go on the field, I'm not JJ, I'm 9, which is his number. Good luck with that. So you want a feel-good story to root for tomorrow, even you casuals. It's Sam Darnold for the Seattle Seahawks. On the flip side, if he doesn't win and plays poorly, he's going to be back to being the butt of everyone's jokes. Seattle were famous when they were going good for having the Legion of Boom as their defense. Ed Reed and a couple other their cornerbacks would just beat the shit out of everybody. Their defense is back. They're not quite the Legion of Boom at the moment, but they have been beating the shit out of everybody. They're also famous, Seattle, for a few crowds have claimed it now, but for having what they call the 13th man, the loudest crowd, the loudest stadium on the planet, but they're not playing at their home ground, so that doesn't matter. They've also got cooler jerseys. Seattle's uniforms are cooler, so if you want to be completely fucking vain about it, like most people are when they're trying to pick a winner of the Melbourne Cup, go on the colours. Seattle's uniforms are sick. But we love a redemption story. Sam Darnold's going to be a huge redemption story. I listen. One of the a podcast I listen to, and if you're into American sports, especially the NFL, I highly recommend it. It's called Part of My Take. Apparently Australia outside of America is their biggest viewership, so jump on and have a listen to those guys. Very funny, very irreverent, but also very American sports based. Even them, up till 3 weeks ago, and they're usually, even though they take the piss, they're usually pretty spot on with their takes. They've been absolutely giving it to this guy and just saying the Seahawks are no chance because of Sam Darnold. So arse. I think 3 weeks ago they were calling him arse. He's just arse. Well, he's going to be Super Bowl ass, so I hope he gets it. What do we got? Belichick 100% should have got into the Hall of Fame, Gibbs. And Leary, definitely. Fuck, Americans are funny. Fuck, Americans are funny. Gun laws, you're allowed to carry a gun and you won't put a coach who won 74 Super Bowls into the Hall of Fame over politics. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, I'm hoping to get to see most of the game, but I do have work tomorrow. I'm a guy who used to skip school for Super Bowl day. That's how much I was into it when I was a kid. But who you got? It seems everyone's on the Seahawks, which probably means the fucking Patriots will win. They're the Melbourne Storm. They're the Melbourne Storm. All right. Good news for old fellas. Not you, Gibbs, but good news for old fellas. Justin Rose won the Farmers Insurance Open last week. 45 years old, beat everyone by 6 shots. And for old people like me, 43 ripe years of age, that means they've still got time. I've still got 2 years I can win a fucking tournament on the tour. Elvis Smiley, he's just won in Liv. He's justified his decision, I suppose. He's just won his first Liv tournament. 1 out of 1 for 1. He can retire now and he's $74 trillion. What do you reckon there, though? Like, happy for him, representing the Aussies. He's not going to get any credit for it, is he? So he leaves the PGA Tour. He goes to Liv. He wins his first tournament. At the same time, Brooks Koepka and others and Patrick Reed and others are leaving to come back to the PGA Tour. He's not going to get any credit for winning, is he? They're just going to be like, you won reserve grade. But he was pumped. I saw the footage. He was absolutely pumped. But Justin Rose. Tell you who I'm not feuding with? Justin Rose. I reckon he's my favourite golfer. Not because he won, but if you watch the Full Swing show on Netflix, and 4 million in one time. Did he win 4 mil? Well, that's why he was happy. Gibbsy's just saying Elvis won 4 mil. That's fucking great. $4 million. We need to up the prize money in our competition, Stephen Gibbs. But sorry, no, Justin Rhodes. If you watch Full Swing on Netflix, and it's sort of like it's Drive to Survive, and I haven't watched the whole thing, but they went into the they show a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Justin Rose seems like a fucking one of the best blokes you've ever met in your life. Super nice, super humble, doesn't carry on, doesn't whinge, doesn't complain, and fucking went out there at 45 years of age and kicked the shit out of everyone. Now, I checked today, he also missed the cut in the Amex tournament the week before, but we won't talk about that. Let's talk about him winning by 6 shots. It's great for old people everywhere. It's great for all the dads out there that are just getting into golf. We can still do it, people. Who's your favourite golfer? And if you say Rory, you're kicked off the fucking podcast. Even at the Masters, Rory seemed genuinely, he wasn't happy for Rory. He was fucking gutted. But you know what the problem with Rory is, Gibbs? You got to pretend to be happy for him. Otherwise, he'll have you abducted in the middle of the night and fucking drown in a dam. That's the problem. You got to pretend to be happy for Rory. No one's happy for Rory. Fucking Rory, we're feuding. But it's the perfect segue because my golf game is just going from strength to strength. John Rahm's your favourite, Gibbs. What about the swing on him? How fast is it? There's fucking no slow back, fast through with him, just absolutely kills it. So those who have been following along at home, my whole goal in life at the moment, as from a sporting point of view, is to get to a 15 handicap in golf. And for those who aren't into golf, it might not mean anything to you. And 15 doesn't sound very good when you hear people talking being scratch golfers and shit like that, but it's sure as hell better than a 30 or a 54 handicap. And it's a start. I'm making a comeback after 10 years off. We've gone from 22 to 17.5, and I've given myself till the end of March to get to 15, so then we can start chasing bigger and better things. And along the way, you're going to meet people, and along the way, you're going to play many, many people, and you're going to play many competitions. Sorry, I just paused there because the chat's going off. I'll get to you boys in a second. But Gibbsy knows where this is leading. And you're going to get to kick the shit out of some people who, thoroughly deserve it. So stroke round at Wyong on yesterday, monthly medal day. Me mate Gibbs, 5 handicapper, mind you. 5 handicapper, and as he's just told everyone in the chat, 7 years younger than me. He hasn't had a 10-year break either, Gibbs. We did play golf about 13 years ago, me and Gibbs, and I've towed him up. I beat him by 3 shots. Me off a 19 handicap, granted. Him off 6 yesterday. But the scoreboard doesn't lie. I come in 27th overall. Gibbs was somewhere down in 80th. And you know what? It's fucking game on. So I was looking, Gibbsy, to try and find our chats from a couple of weeks ago when I was thinking about joining Coinder, and you were talking it up, and we were going to, you said, I'll come over there and beat you. Mate, the Wilson Gibbs Invitational, as I've named it, the trophy is on the way if he thinks I'm joking. I had 90 off the stick. We'll forget the fact that Gibbs had 80 off the stick. But the bloke who's 7 years older, 40 kilos fatter, I'm on blood pressure medication. I can't see. I've got to wear glasses to play. I've got to use a yellow ball, my gay yellow balls, as Steve rightly pointed out earlier. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And destroyed him. And you know what? 3 shots doesn't tell the whole story, because coming up the last, I was 5 shots up, and, you know, I just took my foot off the pedal a bit. I hit a few into trees. I made the last hole as ugly as possible to try and give him a chance, but to no avail. And the score is 1-0 Wilson. So thank you, Gibbs. And the golf game is on point. I did play today, actually, at Belmont up in Newcastle, for those who know New South Wales at all. Beautiful course. And it's a shame about the weather. It was a bit overcast, very linksy. I haven't played Magenta, but I reckon it'll be a lot like Magenta. And thank God I didn't have to put that round towards anything official, because it was fucking shocking. But I think it was a huge emotional letdown after kicking Steve Gibbs' ass, really. Outdrove him on every hole. And I got into his head. He's even admitted to having to take a 3-wood when he didn't really want to take a 3-wood, just to try and catch up. So thank you, Gibbs, and 1-0, brother. Now, that wasn't all, though. A couple of amazing things happened yesterday at golf. One, I learned that when the grass is wet, you put a fucking tee in the ground and rest your putter on it. When you got to go and chip a ball, but the cart's too far away, so you take your putter with you. I've always just had to put my putter on the ground and then spend 10 minutes drying it before I putted. The 16-year-old that was playing with us yesterday whacks a tee in the ground, rests his putter handle on it. It's the greatest thing I've ever actually seen. Never seen it. Been playing golf since I was 10 years old, never seen it. Learned that yesterday. So that was a win, just like the win I had over Stephen Gibbs. It was worth the price of admission. It cost me $2,000 to join that fucking golf club, and it just paid for itself. The second thing that happened, which you'll never ever see again, I don't reckon, is there was 4 of us and 3 of us were playing the exact same driver. Didn't check the shafts, but the exact same TaylorMade QI10 LS. Not just TaylorMade, not just TaylorMade QI10. All 3 of us had the LS head. Now, one of us hit it a lot better than the other 2. But there's 2 things you'll never ever see again. And then there's Brian. So there was me and Gibbs, and then 2 guys we didn't know, a 16-year-old kid named Hunter, great kid, didn't talk enough. He wasn't in for the banter. And then Brian, the fucking bus driver. Brian, the fucking bus driver. We knew we were in trouble off the first tee. He tried to have a cracker joke about something that was absolutely horrible. Now, Gibbsy's a funny one, because I'm outwardly, and in case you can't tell, I'm outwardly aggressive, and if someone's annoying me, I give them the impression pretty quick so they shut up. Gibbsy will sly you. Gibbsy will say it just quietly. He'll say it to me to get me fired up. He didn't have a crack, but me and Brian were into it. This bloke, for every hole we were on, he fucking had a story about the last time he played the hole. And he wouldn't stop. I'm sure he's a lovely fella. Brian, the bus driver, if you ever listen to this, mate, rate you as a human being, nothing to do with that. Just shut the fuck up. Just shush. Please. Hates when you talk while the ball's rolling. He had a mad blow up in him because we were calling putts before they went in, which is fair. You know, when you think a putt's going to go in and you say yes before it goes in and then it misses, he was blowing up because we got him a couple of times. Me and Gibbsy got him good. But the fucking stories, just shut up, mate. One of his best, we get to the 6, he goes, last time I played here, I was on 14 points when we got to this hole, and then I just smacked it out of bounds. Cool story, man. What's the rest of it? What's the rest of it, Brian? But we got our revenge, me and Gibbs, the 11th hole. We're on the black tees because it's medal day. I mention that I beat Gibbsy at medal day? And there's a small hedge. There's a shrubbery running across the front of the tee box, a shrubbery. Those who know Monty Python will know a shrubbery. And he's fucking smacked his drive straight into the shrubbery, never to be seen again. Like literally went 2.5 metres. Never to be seen again. And I don't know what the rule is there, but he said, I get to tee that back up again, didn't he? And me, without even knowing the rule, but just wanted to fuck with Brian, said, no, you got to play. You got to take a drop, play it off the deck. That melted him. Melted Brian, the bus driver. His story shut right up. He told us he had 10 on that hole. I reckon he had 12. I've gone back and counted. I reckon he had a 12, but absolutely got into his head, melted him, much like I melted Steve Gibbs on the 16th when he took a 3-wood he didn't want to take and just fucked everything up. So thank you, Gibbsy. The Gibbs-Wilson Invitational, Wilson-Gibbs Invitational is alive and well and can't wait to beat your ass again, which, now that I've said this, is probably never, ever going to happen. What I can say is, kids, don't do CrossFit. If you're trying to be an elite athlete, an elite golfer, CrossFit's not going to help you. I outdrove him all day. Mad at CrossFit, Gibbs, but mad for CrossFit. I outdrove him all day. All his misses were short. If he was going to miss, he was 20 metres short of where he was aiming. So he needs to lift heavier weights, I think. Just my opinion. Or eat some more jerky G. Now, we're almost there. The Book of Feuds. The Book of Feuds has caused me I was playing it up. It hasn't caused me any headaches. It's been a lot of fun, but I've absolutely been crucified in the last week for my last podcast on people who don't park their car before paying for their petrol. And the vitriol that I have copped on social media has been nothing short of outstanding. People have taken it very, very, very seriously. Very seriously. And you know what? I think we've got a problem in the world. It did show me one thing. People don't cop banter. People can't handle sarcasm. And there's a lot of people with a lot of problems in the world. One guy said to me, well, he had a good point. He said, if that's the biggest problem in the world, you live in a pretty good country. I said, that's not the biggest problem in the world. It is a big problem, but the biggest problem in the world is people who don't fucking rake their bunkers. That's the biggest problem in the world. Someone else sent me to Jesus. They said, the Lord taught me patience, and now I'm giving that patience on to you. But then for a religious person, a little bit violent, and while you're sitting there patient with the Lord's blessing, fuck you while I fill my car up and make you wait while I pay. Well, that was their following line. Good on them. Someone else, obviously first-time listener, no-time follower, says, I bet you're the kind of bloke I bet you'll still stand in line at the bar. Hello, love, read the fucking profile. I don't stand at bars anymore. So she lost her bet. But the worst of all of it, and this is where it gets a bit nasty, the worst of all of it was the kid who wrote nothing but 2 words. Boomer take. Fucking boomer take. Now, I know I've got some fucking grey in my beard, but boomer. Like I'm fucking 75 years old. God, the internet is a cruel, cruel place. The internet is a cruel, 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 cruel place. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. Everyone's really fired up about it. I was right, though. I did say in that podcast that I reckon it's got me feuding with about 80% of the population. It was definitely 80-20 in favour of pay before you go. A lot of people, you know what's fucking funny? People go, but that's against the rules. That's against the rules. There's signs up that say don't do it. Since when are we such a fucking rule-following, law-abiding society? There's signs on the road that say only go 60 kilometres an hour. You don't fucking do that. You don't do that. There's signs up that say don't piss in the pool. You don't do that. You don't follow that sign. Everyone's pissing in the pool. They had to put purple dye in pools now to catch you when you're pissing. There's no parking signs everywhere. No one listens to that, but the one sign you're going to listen to. And funnily enough, you can have no repercussions. What's the service station attendant going to do? Not take your money and say, no, go and put your car back at the bazaar? So the one sign that has no repercussions whatsoever, that's the one we're going to listen to. And I'm an arsehole for suggesting we don't. Even Mr. Gibbs, 5 fucking handicapper my ass, even Mr. Gibbs says, oh, but to be fair, now to be very fair to Mr. Gibbs, he's a parking payer. He's on my side. He's one of the 20%. But he also said, to be fair, some stores have policies against it. We're fucking listening to store policies now on nothing else, nothing ever, only that I'm going to pay for me petrol before I park my car and make everyone wait. That's where you draw the line, people. That's where you go, nah, listen, I've done a lot of things. I've smoked a lot of weed. I sped here. I've parked in the wrong place my whole life. I've pissed in every public pool I've ever been in. But you know what? The sign on the Bowser that says pay before you park your car, that's the one I'm going to listen to. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. But that was last week's Book of Feuds. This week's Book of Feuds, we're back to golf. I should have just followed on from the golf with this, but there's 2 fucking people I can't stand on the golf course, and they're almost the same person but complete opposites. First is the 30 fucking handicapper that carries on after every shot like they're Tiger Woods when they hit a bad one. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh, I thought it was going to draw instead of slice. Oh, if only it had been another 10 metres closer to the hole. Shut the fuck up. You're a 30 handicapper. You're meant to be bad at golf. Just be happy if you hit it straight. They'll put it on a green from 150 metres out, which is an unbelievable shot for a 30 handicapper. It'll be 10 metres from the hole and they go, oh, should have been closer. Should have been closer. You are miserable to play golf with. Shut up. Stop it. I'm a 17.5 handicapper and I can't hit a fucking green. You would enjoy the game much, much more if you understood where you're at in life. Stop getting your ambitions and your abilities mixed up. Sure, strive to be better, but shut up. Stop watching people on TV carry on when they miss a fucking 15-foot putt. You're not meant to make them. They're the worst people to play golf with. They're the worst people to play golf with. Almost the worst people to play golf with, because there's one that's worse and we're feuding. So I'm feuding with 30 handicappers who fucking carry on like they should be good at golf. But you know who's worse than that? People who are fucking good at golf who won't take a compliment. People who are good at golf, 5 handicappers, not you, Gibbs. I will say this, Steve Gibbs is not one of these people. But Brian had a bit of it in him. Fuck. Bus driver Brian had a bit of it in him yesterday. You put a ball to within 3 metres of the pin and you go, good shot, great shot, mate, well done. They go, oh, yeah, nah, thought it would have had more spin on it. Shut the fuck up. They drive a ball fucking straight down the middle of the fairway. Oh, great shot, well done, beautiful drive. Yeah, nah, didn't get all of it. Shut the fuck up. You are miserable to play golf with. Miserable to play golf with. Brian, the bus driver, nearly dunked one yesterday from about 70 metres out. He dead set landed the ball 4 inches from the pin. 4 inches. Now, it did roll on. It rolled on about 6 metres. All I said to Brian, the bus driver, was, mate, well done, nearly dunked that. To be honest, Cam, I would have preferred it just stopped closer. Shut the fuck up and take the compliment. Take the compliment. You are the worst people to play golf with. So and this is where, hey, you know what happens? 30 handicappers play with you guys and then they turn into miserable fucking pricks to play golf with as well. Shut up. I did play with one today who's not very good at golf. Great guy, not very good at golf, but he was complaining from the very first tee. Oh, you know, I've been working on this and it didn't happen. Man, just smile. We're on a beautiful golf course. We're next to the ocean. The air is fresh. The ocean is blue. The water hazards are full of water. Enjoy life. But absolute punish. I can't. Who's worse, do you reckon, though? No. Listen, the guys who aren't very good at golf that carry on a bit, they're nowhere near as bad as the people who are good at golf because they should know better. The people who are good at golf, who know how fucking hard it is to hit a green in regulation, should not be complaining when they're a metre out instead of half a metre out. You leave one of their best ones, they'll have a 20-metre putt. They'll leave it 2 feet from the hole. And listen, if I have a 20-metre putt, I'm six putting. If I have a 20-metre putt, I'm 100% six putting. These guys have a 20-metre putt. They leave it 2 feet from the hole, easy to, I thought it would have broke more. I just didn't quite get the speed right. Shut the fuck up, you miserable bastards. Golf's supposed to be about meditation and enjoying life and not having to be at work with whinging pricks like you. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of golf, and you've brought it to the golf course. So we're feuding. I'm feuding with the bad golfers who want to be better, and I'm feuding with the good golfers who just won't take a compliment, can't cop it. Stephen Gibbs, though, he's great on the compliments. He's a big hype guy, Gibbsy. Big hype guy, almost too nice. That's why I had to turn it a bit nasty. So I had to get into his head a bit because he can't be too nice either. Someone hits a bad shot, fuck, give it to him. Give it to him. But I've had that conversation on here before. And my Book of Feuds. All right. Have I missed anything? Before we head off, guys, I just want to wasn't going to do any serious talk on today's podcast, but I am going to now. There's a video getting around on socials, and I shared it in my story before about Andrew Fafita, the ex-Australian New South Wales and Cronulla Shark front rower, formerly at one time one of the most devastating front rowers in the game, scored a famous try against Melbourne in the grand final. Fuck you, Storm. And he's on a podcast talking about his previous battles with mental health, and he discloses that at one time he tried to kill himself. It was around the time that Cronulla were getting done for peptides and all that shit was going on. It's been shared far and wide, probably not enough yet though, and it just got me thinking. There was a report a couple of weeks ago too that I was going to highlight. I was going to do a take on, but it sort of went by the wayside, and it was James Graham on his podcast or in an interview talking about his struggles with alcohol and his battle with mental health and his trips to rehab and everything coming out of it. And I hope this is more than just people coming out and championing Are You OK Day or the Black Dog Institute or anything like that. This is blokes coming out and bearing their soul, and I'm so glad to see it. So glad to see it. I said on the very first episode of this place that this show that I believe that all the hype around mental health and people now saying, it's everyone pretending like everything's cool is bullshit, and especially for blokes my age, it's still a taboo subject. You're still not really meant to talk about it. Everyone gets on Facebook around Are You OK Day and writes Are You OK without actually checking on anybody. And even I find people who do check on you aren't ready for the conversation to come back, aren't ready for what's about to happen. They're asking okay, obviously with good intentions, but also not with the intention to sit there and hear what's coming back. So I really want to applaud. I was going to applaud James Graham a couple of weeks ago because he has been consistent with it. He hasn't just talked about it once. He's talked about it many times. He's got a fairly successful podcast now. He's a media personality. And some of the stuff he discloses, I wonder sometimes if the media bosses are sitting back going, man, will you shut the fuck up? We don't need anyone to know you took time off to go to rehab, and we don't need anyone to know how badly you're struggling. You're still an employee, but I applaud him. And it's also, hopefully a good reminder for people, even though I take the piss on here out of people, I try not to ever attack them personally because you never know what someone else is going through on the other end. Right? For Andrew Fafita's copped a lot of shit in his life because he's always a fairly extroverted kind of guy. He never backwards in coming forwards out in public, so he copped a lot of flack for it. But sit there and listen to that podcast. I think it's called The Reborn Athlete. I wrote it down somewhere. Hang on. Becoming Reborn podcast. Look it up. I haven't listened to the whole thing. I just watched a snippet of his interview, but it is it's a trend that I'm liking, right? It's a trend that needs to continue, and that's men sharing. And they're not doing it for likes. They're not doing it for clicks. They're actually bearing their soul. And if more men were bearing their soul, there'd be a lot less of us basically ending it all, because we're definitely the highest percentage of suicides out of all the suicide rates, us and teenagers, unfortunately. Men between 30 and 50 and then teenagers because of social media. But I think the problem is everyone's too happy with it just being an "Are you okay?" on Facebook instead of actually checking in with people. And then when you do check in, actually listening. So I applaud those guys. I encourage any men especially that are listening, yeah, if you need someone to talk to, you can always reach out. After last week's podcast, actually, I have had a few people reach out and asking, not for help so much, but just asking for advice. And for those people who have got people coming to them, or don't be scared of the conversation. Please don't be scared of the conversation, because the people who need to talk can sense it, and that's why we don't talk. That's why people don't talk, is because they're scared of the reaction. I'm not sure where I was going with that, but it's something we all need to keep in the back of our minds. It's so much more prevalent than people think. And Fafita says in his interview, like his brothers who were there with him at the time didn't know what to do about it, so they beat the shit out of him. Now, that's Islander love. That's part of their culture, part of that too. But he repeated a few times in it that no one knew about mental health. No one knew about mental health. No one knew about mental health. I don't think anyone can stick their head in the sand now and say they don't know about mental health. Everyone's aware of it, but what are you doing with it? What are you doing about it? And what are you doing when you're around it? And what's the person sitting across from you going through? You'll never know. You might not ever know. But be more wary, be more sharey. Lots of love to you guys. Thanks for the guys who jumped in the chat. The two Steves, we're definitely feuding on some things, Steve Leary, but others we got some common ground there, mate. So well done. And Steve Gibbs, I'll let you know when the trophy's in, mate, and I'll present myself with it. Thanks for taking part, guys. I'll see you guys next Sunday at 4 p.m. In the meantime, anyone's got any topics, any suggestions, please reach out. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. Facebook isn't going far. We're up to 40 subs on YouTube. I'm going to be a millionaire soon. We're also now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and all that stuff for people who want to listen in later. I'll catch you all soon. Thanks for everything. Bye.